Three, two, one. What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Here to Spear, presented to you by NoleGameday.com. We are here live from Charlotte, where Florida State is your 2023 ACC champion. A wild roller coaster of a game. But when you've got a true freshman quarterback coming in to start, you're just asking for it. And what a game it was. Florida State's defense absolutely dominates and keeps Florida State in this one. Big plays made by Lawrence Toafili on the defensive side. Also, you got to talk about Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, your biggest stars of the night defensively. Big time interception from Tatum Bethune to erase points from Louisville. Man, oh man, Florida State's back at the top of the ACC, and Mike Norvell gets it done with a true freshman quarterback. With me this evening is Dustin Lewis, or should I say, with me this morning is Dustin Lewis, our editor-in-chief at NoleGameday.com, and up at the top is our lead basketball writer and official football game preview writer, Austin Beasy. Gentlemen, Florida State gets it done in Charlotte. They're your 2023 ACC champions.
What a game. All season, we've seen this team overcome adversity, show resiliency, come back in games, and I mean, it was just all kind of on display tonight, the fight that this team had. A shorthanded offense, starting a true freshman. We knew the defense was going to have to step up, and I mean, they did more than that. They jumped up, held Louisville to under 200 yards, lowest this season. And Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, obviously, Akeem Dent, Tatum Bethune, that entire defense, Renardo Green. I mean, flying around, making big plays whenever they were needed. And Florida State gets out of Charlotte with a 16-6 victory, and I think less than 12 hours from now, boys, Florida State's going to be going to the college football playoff.
You stopped too soon on the defense. They had the most pass breakups they'd had all season, the most sacks they'd had all season, the most tackles for loss they'd had all season, plus the lowest yards they'd allowed all season. They knew they had to dominate this game, and man, did they! They absolutely dominated this game from the start. Louisville had that first, second half possession where Jeff Brom was really dialing things up, getting the ball downfield, and it ended in just 3 points. This defense absolutely came to play. There's nothing you can do to convince me this defense alone doesn't deserve to be in the top four come tomorrow.
Yep, we just got done hearing from Mike Norvell, and he made his argument for Florida State to make it into that college football playoff. Obviously, we'll talk at the very end of what happened in the world of college football, but things are going to get interesting here for that college football playoff committee. But for sure, it seems like Florida State steeled themselves here in Charlotte to get that win, and it was a roller coaster ride. And I think Florida State staying disciplined too, not allowing some flags and these penalties kept them. They had to do everything they could, and this defense and Adam Fuller did a phenomenal job. And the pressure that was coming on the inside, Braden Fisk was an absolute effing monster, absolutely effing monster. And Jared Verse too. Those two guys right there just got paid big time.
Listen, I know Toafili had a big part in this win. Braden Fisk should have been ACC championship MVP. I mean, 3 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss. Yeah, he was so good. I don't even know how many total tackles he finished with. It must have been.
I think it was
maybe more.
I think it was 10. Yeah.
But he was just unblockable all night. And there's clips going around from the first quarter where they're like, this guy moves like a wide receiver. He was just so good.
And it was from the first drive of the game. I mean, Braden Fisk made a giant impact on this game from beginning to end. I mean, just making crucial plays throughout. Obviously gets the sack that kind of led to Florida State taking a knee here and finishing this victory off. But a man on a mission tonight, and this is a guy who transferred in from Western Michigan to Florida State to bring championships back to Tallahassee, and he did that tonight with a career performance. This was the best game of his college career. Just insane on the biggest of stage for Braden Fisk to step up and guide the Seminole defense.
He got himself paid tonight. It's plain and simple. He got himself paid.
I was talking to him after the game just for a split second when he was celebrating with the team, and I just asked what kind of an adrenaline rush was that, and he said, "Man, it was fucking crazy." it was, and he was the one cutting the sod there on the turf as much as he could. It wasn't the easiest to cut up here in Charlotte, but they got it done. Man, let's talk about Brock Lynn real quick too. We saw Tate Rodemaker come out here during warm-ups. He was fully dressed. He was actually running around, doing the usual Tate Rodemaker athletic, just jumping around, throwing balls downfield. Comes out dressed, and then Brock Lynn gets the start. What were y'all thoughts on Glenn? Obviously, true freshman quarterback. Dustin, you and I were talking last night at the hotel. Like, if they throw out a true freshman quarterback, just get ready for a lot of clunky things to happen on offense. And Florida State had to get creative, and they did that with Lawrence Toafili in the Wildcat, big-time 73-yard run there, and eventually a 2-yard touchdown after that. But take us through Brock Glenn and the quarterback play there and what Mike Norvell had to do on the spot to kind of maneuver this offense to get down the field.
Yeah, Brock Glenn, obviously a very promising prospect for Florida State moving into the future. But everyone's got to remember, this wasn't a guy who was supposed to play important snaps this season, let alone start a game in the ACC championship. I mean, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Losing Jordan Travis, having Tate Rodemaker go through this concussion protocol and miss tonight, and then, putting Brock Glenn out there in Charlotte for his first opportunity. He played the first meaningful snaps of his career last week, coming in after Tate went down against Florida for those 2 plays. So, yeah, it was kind of expected for this one to be ugly early on and, for most of the first half. And Brock Glenn had some bright moments tonight, had some mistakes, obviously. It seemed like he started to settle in a little bit there, but you could definitely tell that Louisville defense. I mean, they were just pinning their ears back and coming after Brock Glenn, not respecting that passing game at all. The playmakers didn't always help him out. We saw those drops from Keon Coleman, but, at the end of the day, a win is a win, and I'm sure Brock Glenn would tell you that.
Yeah, especially early on. Louisville was really sitting on those runs on early downs, on first and second down. They were daring Florida State to beat them over the top. And, we were talking up the press box, like the deep shot has to come at some point. You've got Johnny Wilson one-on-one. You've got Keon Coleman one-on-one with no safety help. We all thought those wide receiver screens are early. We're going to open something up later in the game. It never really came besides that one drop from Keon Coleman down the field, and even that was set up by like a quarterback draw. So it wasn't what we expected. You had to break out the wild tofu, as I was calling it up in the press box, and he ran for 118 yards on 10 carries. I mean, he did absolutely everything you needed him to in this game.
Yeah, and
I was just going to say that was the biggest sequence of the game when Florida State came out with that wildcat look in the third quarter, and Toafili was able to make that counter and then go back and attack that right side. And
it was the same play every time.
Yeah, 73-yard run, the second longest in ACC championship history, and then the very next play, he punches it in for the only touchdown of the 2023 ACC championship. So, yeah, well-deserved MVP for Lawrence Toafili. I mean, he was on one tonight, obviously, and sparked this team when they needed it, especially, with Trey Benson. We haven't really talked about him, but he looked a little banged up there tonight, so it was good to see Toa get in there and perform in a spot where he was extremely needed.
It was just so funny because every Wildcat play was the exact same, and it worked every single time. I don't know why Louisville couldn't stop it when they were stopping every other run. But, hey, man, an ACC championship's an ACC championship. You get it however you can.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, for Brock Glenn's sake, these drops from Keon Coleman, Kyle Morlock also had a big one there that would have gone for a first down. These guys weren't helping him out as much whenever at least, Glenn was in good target with his receivers, which that's got to be fixed. And, moving forward, Florida State's next game, they will, be highly expected to have Tate Rodemaker back, which is got to feel good for a Florida State fan as he's obviously still dealing with that concussion protocol and didn't get fully cleared for tonight. But there were some times where Florida State needed those playmakers to make plays for Glenn when those opportunities were there, and they weren't. And, they really had to rely on that run game in Lawrence Toafili and the success there. So, outside of that, the defense was just everywhere, and they were making plays all throughout the game. But it just goes to show, too, Mike Norvell and, Dustin, we talked about it last night. This Mike Norvell, man, bringing in a true freshman quarterback. Obviously, offense didn't click as he wanted it to, but it just goes to show, Mike Norvell and what he's been able to build in the culture here. And this team responds to about anything, and that's just such a whole 180 from what we saw 4 years ago. This team would collapse on anything. In the first quarter, second quarter, this team would just give up. No matter what it is, fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, these guys come and respond, and they make plays to keep Florida State in the win column.
They're just so damn gutsy. I mean, this is a game where Florida State's players, knowing that Brock Glenn was going into this game and knowing that the offense was going to take a step back, they could have came out flat. We talked about it, I think, on Wednesday, that Florida State needed to start fast in this game. Louisville, one of the best first quarter teams in the country. And Florida State's defense just comes out and jumps all over them, forcing however many 3-and-outs. And Austin, I think you've got the punt stats.
18 punts. 18 punts. This was
how many were Louisville punts?
I think it was 50-50. I want to say it was I want to say it was 50-50.
And especially early on, I mean, Florida State's defense set the tone. Louisville came into this game averaging 33 points a contest. I think they've had over 300 yards of total offense or more in every single game this year. This is a team that has consistently moved the ball. They've had one of the best rushing attacks in the ACC, something that Florida State has struggled to stop at certain points this season. Not tonight. There may be times that the Louisville running back was able to break out for a decent game. But other than that, I mean, Florida State's defense from the front seven to the secondary coming up and helping in the ground game, just 11 guys flying around to the football.
Yeah, I put in the recap. I started the article with this. There's that old phrase, you go to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out. FSU went to the ACC championship game and a Big Ten game broke out. I mean, 18 punts, the offense was sloppy. It was really just a battle of field position, really the entire first half and really the whole game. You know, if Tatum Bethune doesn't get that interception right in this end zone, you know, it might be a much different outcome that we're talking about. But the defense was just so unbelievably good. The special teams had their mishaps. You know, there was that botch snap on the punt right here, but, you know, Florida State's defense did their job. And that's what it comes down to at the very end.
Yeah.
It's time to give Adam Fuller. It's time to give Adam Fuller his flowers, because there's been times
it's been time.
He's been criticized during his tenure in Tallahassee at certain points. There's not much that you can say about this 2023 season. With the way that Florida State's played in the second half all year, with the four-quarter performance tonight from this defense, a legendary performance from Adam Fuller.
Jared Verse gets a bag, Braden Fisk gets a bag, and Adam Fuller gets a bag as well.
Keep going.
A lot of
gets
people are getting bags. A lot of
Lovett
people
gets a bag. Kalen DeLoach gets a bag. Akeem Dent gets a bag. Shane Brown gets a bag.
Akeem, people kind of forget about Akeem Dent, but
and they all get a ring
too. And in the first half, he was stellar. He was phenomenal on the defense too, making big time tackles. Shaheem Brown too. There were some tackles that needed to be made, or Louisville was going to take it for 6, and they were just relying, kind of like what you saw last week against Florida. Some of these little shoestring tackles, just one-on-one in space, getting it done. Got Tallahassee Democrat people coming over here. Safe travels, boys. Safe travels. But we're getting rained on crazy. We'll have a full-on reaction to this game. We'll have a lot of time to look back at this game. Let's jump into now college football playoff talk, because I think that's what everybody wants to get our thoughts on anyways. We saw Georgia get upset by Alabama in the SEC
I called it.
You did?
Yep. This shakes up some things here. Like I said, Mike Norvell feels very, very good that Florida State will make it into this college football playoff. But what are y'all's thoughts on this with the shakeup there and the top 4? What is y'all's idea of what happens next? And I think a lot of Florida State fans are worried here because, you know, you don't have Jordan Travis. You should have Tate Rodemaker back, though. The committee's got a lot to decide on here, and not a lot.
I don't think they do. I mean, really, what they have to decide on in Florida, as far as Florida State, is do the Seminoles move up to number 3? Or do they stick at that 4 spot? There's no doubt an undefeated conference champion, like we heard Mike Norvell say, the most wins against FBS teams with a winning record in 2023. I mean, this team has done it from beginning to end and had this perfect campaign. They're going to the college football playoff. It just depends, you know, with Georgia's loss, are they going to drop all the way out now and Florida State jumps up a spot? I think right now you're looking at Michigan number 1, Washington number 2, Florida State number 3, and then you got to kind of figure out between Alabama and Texas at that number 4 spot. But
it's got to be Texas.
At least in my opinion, Washington versus Florida State, New Orleans.
I agree, and to me, it's got to be Texas at that 4 spot. Otherwise, why even have games? Why do we have these head-to-head results? Texas went into Tuscaloosa, into Bryant-Denny Stadium, and beat them by 10. It wasn't even like it was like a last-second play where you could go, you know, maybe if you change this, it's a different outcome. Texas beat them. And they beat them pretty good. To me, Texas has to be that 4 slot. Otherwise, what are we doing in the regular season? Why does the regular season matter? No. So I agree with you. I think it's Michigan 1, Washington 2, Florida State 3, and Texas at 4. As you said, Washington, Florida State in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. I think that's just an assumption that we're taking because we think Michigan will take that Rose Bowl slot. The Rose Bowl already
Mhm.
has the Big Ten affiliation for conference champions. I just think that makes the most sense for their fan base. And, Florida State's right back where they started last season in New Orleans. I think it's a great storyline.
Yep, I agree with you guys. Florida State should make it into this playoff. If it does not
They
happen,
will.
some freak shit happens, Tallahassee will riot. They will riot, and I don't think you want to piss off FSU Twitter even more than how they've been riled up in the last couple of weeks since they've lost Jordan Travis. So they've heard all the chatter. This team has definitely heard the chatter. This defense and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk have certainly heard the chatter. So they showed up, they played well, and they got the win. And now in less than 12 hours, we will be hearing from the College Football Playoff Committee on what their decision will be for that top 4. But Florida State, Mike Norvell, they get it done in Charlotte. It's pouring down rain and it's cold here.
I'm
And
so
we've
mad.
got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. But we'll have a full-on show on Wednesday at 7 p.m. recapping this game fully, giving our full thoughts on this. And then we're going to talk college football playoff as well. We might actually have a show earlier than Wednesday to talk college football playoff. So just make sure you're subscribed on our YouTube. Hit the like button on Facebook. Share with all your friends. Also, we're on iTunes, Spotify. Make sure you subscribe there so you get notified every time we release a new episode if you're listening on audio versions. But yeah, Florida State, Mike Norvell, ACC champions on top of the conference once again in 2023. Florida State beats Louisville 16-6. We'll talk to you guys sometime early next week. Safe travels back home, Seminoles. Peace.
Appreciate y'all.